This video will demonstrate how to create differential pair rules, assign those rules to differential pairs, and route the differential pairs. Right now in my design I have two sets of differential pairs, the rat's nest being displayed. I want to route these with some different rules than my default rules. So I need to go into my constraint manager. I'll use the constraint manager icon. Again, I need to be in the electrical domain. Now, since I'm going to create rules, I'm going to go into my routing workbook, into my differential pair worksheet. I need to create a new electrical constraint set, right mouse button, create electrical C set. We'll just give it a name of DPs. Now I want to set all the rules for my differential pairs. I'm going to set my gather control to ignore, which says when the trace is coming out of the pins, don't add that up as part of my uncoupled length. I will set my uncoupled length to 100 mils. I'm not going to use a static phase tolerance checking. Remember, that's the total etch length of the two differential pairs compared to each other. I'm not going to do dynamic phase, which checks the phase control as they're being routed. I don't need a minimum line spacing. I want my primary gap to be 8, my primary width to be 8. So I'm going to route it at 8 mil line, 8 mil space. I'm not going to do any about necking anything. I'm going to have my tolerances be 0.1, both positive and negative. Those are the rules I'm going to follow. I now need to assign these rules to my differential pairs. So I need to go into my net folder, routing workbook, differential pair worksheet. I can expand my diff pairs. These have already been created. These are my two differential pairs made up of these two nets. So I want to assign these differential pairs to that electrical constraints that I just created. Always a good thing to check your analysis modes. So let me go into an analyze analysis modes. And for differential pairs, you can see it's currently turned off. So I want to turn on my checking of differential pairs. Right now that they're turned on, let's start routing these connections. I do the add connect command. Notice that my default line width is 5 as shown in my options window. When I start routing my differential pairs, I pick on either net. There's my line width changed to 8. So it now has changed to my differential pair rules. I'll start routing these connections. Zoom in here a little bit. What will happen is as you move your trace into the connection point, you have two options. If your cursor is before the connection point or as you're going into the pin, it will use a tightly coupled routing scheme. If you move your cursor past the connection point, you notice it will jump into a loosely coupled scheme. So I want them to be tightly coupled. I'll select there. I just now need to finish routing this connection. I'm just going to keep on going. And again, I'll use a tightly coupled scheme and select there. Notice I have some DRCs here. Move my mouse over the DRC, it will tell me that that's basically my max uncoupled length set to 100. My actual value is 132. What's happening is if we look at the middle pins, this is actually a differential pair of 3 pins. The include or ignore of the uncoupled length only applies to the pins on the end. So the pins in the middle, as you can see, have little highlighted traces in them. That means I'm violating some of my rules. The middle pins will always be added into the uncoupled length if you have a 3-pin differential pair. And let me route the other connections, my other differential pair. Start coming down here. Got a little bit of problem here. I can't really make it from this starting point to end point on the top layer, so I need to add in some vias. Do a right mouse button. When we do a right mouse button, we do have via patterns we can set in, horizontal, vertical, diagonal up or diagonal down. Right now the check mark is telling me I have a horizontal via pattern. That's what I want. So I'll select add via. It will attach the vias to my cursor, but they're not placed yet. I'll select where I'm going to put them in. It will swap my layers. Let me go into my options window, right on the bottom layer. I'll come over here. I'll put more vias in. However, I want to use the vertical pattern, so I'll select there. Do right mouse button, add via. It'll attach those to my cursor. I'll put them in, let's say there, and I'll finish this connection. Make this last connection. Again, I have my DRCs. Again, it's because my max uncoupled length. Again, and the same problem with these 2 pins here, but I also have the uncoupled length of all the vias that I put in here. This concludes the demonstration on how to create differential pair rules, assign those rules to differential pairs, and route the differential pairs.